What I'm here to say is, on Good Friday, when you say you have to eat lamb, you've misunderstood something, that the lamb will be sacrificed into the fire. Aries will pass into the sun in the northern hemisphere of the planet, and when it does, the fire will consume it. The lamb will be the burnt offering. And it's already happening, it's happened in fact. That is what is meant by the need for a burnt offering. This is why God says in the Bible very clearly who instructed you to cause these blood sacrifices. Who told you to do this? I delight not in the blood of bulls and rams and goats and so on and so forth. I don't remember word for word what it said. Hey everyone, so we are fastly approaching Easter. We are pretty much in Easter here. Tomorrow will be Passover. Friday is Good Friday, as is celebrated everywhere, I think. Christian nations at least, I should say. But in England there's a tradition on Good Friday. And that tradition is that we must eat lamb. And I remember as a child this tradition being observed, and indeed before I was old enough to be free in my consumption choices and I was eating what I was given, then I too used to consume meat, and indeed on Good Friday we would consume lamb, which is ultimately a baby animal. This is what it is to eat a baby. So as I developed myself spiritually, I got very confused about these religious traditions. I mean, why? Why do we need to eat a baby animal? You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why do we need to do that? But as I grew to understand things even further, I began to understand that it is just a big misunderstanding. And the God I see and believe, of course, I'm not saying, because there are extremely strong Christian people, extremely good people, loving, caring people who still consume meat. They're just not educated yet about the alternatives, or what they're doing is how I see it. And I have all the time in the world for such people. I have dear friends who consume meat, and they do phenomenally spectacular things for the planet and for the children and for the environment. But they just haven't yet learned to not cause suffering to survive, because they've been taught from a young age to cause suffering to survive, as if it's the only way. Now the reason people are eating lamb on Good Friday is, well, first of all, let's dismantle Easter. Just briefly, Easter I have very little respect for, sadly. Now I understand what it celebrates is something beautiful, the idea that someone sacrificed all for the love of humanity. That's stunning. Let's celebrate that. But the word Easter in the Bible appears only one time. And Easter comes from the word Ishtar. Now Ishtar, I'll let you research that yourself, because it'll be a very long video if I start speaking about what Ishtar is. I-S-H-T-A-R. Google it. But it was placed, the word Easter was placed in the Bible to remove or replace the word Passover. Now Passover is a Jewish celebration. We all know it's Jewish. And it's the celebration, the Passover feast is where Good Friday eating lamb comes from. Because in accordance with the scripture, with the Bible, there must be the burnt offering of the lamb. The lamb must be sacrificed to the fire at this time of year. Well, at this time of year is the spring equinox. And from the northern hemisphere, which is where the Bible is written from, because the northern hemisphere represents the mind of a human being. That's why they say enlightenment is in the east, as in the sun. In summertime, light comes from the east in the northern hemisphere, so on and so forth. In the northern hemisphere, the constellation Aries is consumed by the sun at this time of year. So on the 21st, I think, of March, so a few days before I'm recording this, Aries was consumed by the sun in the northern hemisphere. So the lamb was sacrificed, the burnt offering of the lamb was done in the sky. It's not a literal thing. And to eat a baby animal's body and say it's religious or spiritual and what the Prince of Peace would want from you it's not, for me, I used to do it when I was a child, but when I think about it, it doesn't make sense. I can't see Jesus kneeling down and slitting the throat of a baby animal. I can't see that. And I'm going to do another video on diet and Jesus because I have very many views on it, because I've read other scriptures or seen other scriptures as well, such as the Essene, the Gospel of the Nazarenes and the Essene scriptures. Books that weren't let into the Bible, and as I said in other videos, God can't always make everything go how he wants, otherwise we wouldn't have wars and we wouldn't have suffering and we wouldn't have the atrocities we see on earth. Sometimes it's not in his control because he's gifted us free will. And a man's free will can doctor a book, can change a book, and can choose which books go into a book. And that's what happens with the Bible. It was a choice of books, and many scriptures and gospels were left out of there. The Gospels of Thomas and, as I say, other scriptures such as the Gospel of the Nazarenes, the Essene books. And the Essenes were vegetarian, and they do say don't eat meat in those books. But I'm not here to argue eat meat or don't eat meat at the moment. I don't want to get into that. Some people who eat meat are very beautiful, loving souls. And that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter either what diet was followed thousands of years ago, because they didn't live on a planet that's on the brink of environmental destruction, predominantly caused by the consumption of animal products. They didn't live like that, and they couldn't foresee it being like this. Surely not, otherwise they'd have told you back then. But what I'm here to say is, on Good Friday, when you say you have to eat lamb, you've misunderstood something, that the lamb will be sacrificed into the fire. Aries will pass into the sun in the northern hemisphere of the planet, and when it does, the fire will consume it. The lamb will be the burnt offering. And it's already happening, it's happened in fact. That is what is meant by the need for a burnt offering. This is why God says in the Bible very clearly who instructed you to cause these blood sacrifices. Who told you to do this? I delight not in the blood of bulls and rams and goats and so on and so forth. I don't remember word for word what it said. But it's in the Passover scripture. He delights not. And he asked, who told you to do this? Which makes you ask, who was writing the Old Testament with these moral codes where you had to beat people and burn them and kill them and offer blood? When God clearly said in the New Testament, who is it that asked you to do these things? And as we know, two energies jewel it out, so why would two energies not jewel out the creation of a scripture? We don't know. We can't be certain what it was that was writing when one energy clearly says, who's asked you to do these awful things, this need for blood and sacrifice and burnt offerings? I delight not. So to eat a lamb on Good Friday is to go against scripture in my belief, in my eyes, and this is how I see it, because you're doing it as a blood sacrifice, a burnt offering, and God says he doesn't delight in these things. And you're only doing it because Aries passes into the sun and you don't understand astrology. And on the first page of the Bible, it tells you, let the stars be for signs. It's all in direct contradiction of what's written in the book, because you're following the institution of the church, which in itself is in direct contradiction to following Christ, because as the story taught you, religion crucified the Christ. Religion killed the Messiah, not spirituality. So if you're going to eat lamb this Good Friday because it's for God or for Jesus or for Christianity, then I ask you, Would Jesus want you to kneel down and take a child away from its mother and kill it and eat its flesh? Or are you going to listen to what the Bible taught you, that in the first page it tells you, let the stars be for signs? Are you going to listen to what the Bible tells you and say God doesn't delight in blood sacrifices and burnt offerings? And in which case, why are you going to partake in a blood sacrifice and a burnt offering and eat a baby animal on a religious holiday? It's not what was wanted and not what's needed. What would delight God more than anything is if you just went inside yourself and gave thanks for the world and worked out a way that you can maybe share with someone who's struggling to find the peace in themselves to be able to give thanks because they're busy looking for food, or they're busy looking for shelter, or they're busy looking for emotional comfort because they don't have these things. This will please God on Good Friday. Eating lamb, I don't see how anyone can think that killing a baby animal would please the Prince of Peace, because it doesn't please me. So I can't see how it would please he either. I really can't. So if you're interested in understanding where I'm coming from with this stuff, then you need to look beyond the Bible sometimes, as I say. The Gospel of Nazarenes, or the Gospel of the Essene Gospels. I think it's the Gospel of the Nazarenes is the one I'm referring to with the dietary stuff in it. Before anyone starts giving me scripture and quotes from the Bible saying, oh, they told you to kill this and to kill that, that book is not 100% how it should be. It's been doctored a lot. And there are other scriptures missing from it. And as I said, the God of the New Testament even said, what on earth was asking you to kill things for me? So we've got to start asking questions. And regardless of all of that, Jesus and his disciples and the men who channeled those scriptures from God, they didn't live now where the planet is on the brink of environmental destruction because we are too ignorant to change our behaviour patterns, as in consuming meat. The number one cause of deforestation and greenhouse gases on the planet is animal agriculture for meat and dairy. The disciples and Jesus never knew that. And in the name of Christianity, to destroy the planet, to destroy Earth, to uphold religious holidays such as Good Friday, to kill animals and to breed animals to kill them for that, it's in direct contradiction of the word love, because it's not loving towards your home. And this is God's creation, this is Eden, this is what God created. And he wants us to respect and love and nurture it. Like he wants us to respect and love and nurture one another, like he wants to respect and love and nurture us, so as we can pass that on. So, that's my thoughts, just briefly, on Good Friday and the consumption of lamb. I can't see how it would please God in any way whatsoever to destroy the environment, to take a life, to leave a mother mourning for her child. It's dramatic language, but it's the reality of things. When ultimately all that was being said is that that big bright guy in the sky has just consumed Aries in the northern hemisphere. The lamb is the burnt offering that is burnt up in the sun. That's all it's saying. It's not telling you to take an animal. And God clearly said, I delight not in your burnt offerings. So at least do what he said. And if you're going to eat a lamb for Good Friday, read that scripture and say, okay, so God doesn't want burnt offerings or blood sacrifices. What is the real reason I'm choosing to do this? And it's normally just habitual. And we like to feel that we have the right to do things. And everyone's free to do what they want, but I'm just asking you to think of your planet and the future home of our children whilst you make those choices. I'm asking people to become educated on their environment, as well as things like the scripture that can help to guide them in a better way than what the religious institution of Christianity has allowed it to guide at the moment. So, okay, I'm going to get off. Much love, guys. Bye.